So remember that video that I made a few months ago where I said, I don't know where God has taken me, but I'm sure it's like an amazing place. Okay, I have a story for you guys, and I've been holding this story in for a few weeks because I don't know, I've just been pretty, didn't feel like getting all dolled up to come on camera. But I have something to tell you, so stick around, okay? Now, this one is for the believers and the unbelievers. If you don't believe, you should stay around because I got something to tell you about God and what God did for me. If you're unaware, my name is Morgan, and God delivered me from domestic violence and witchcraft. I was in that relationship for 7 years, married for 5. And I started doing witchcraft, and I was doing witchcraft for about 5 years, broke my family apart, broke me apart, just broke everything apart. And I ran to Jesus, I ran to God, and God delivered me, put me in my own apartment. And it was just like a serious, miraculous story. If you don't know my story, you should go look at my testimony because, like I said, if you don't believe, you'll believe after reading that story. Now, here's this story. Okay, there's more. God is not finished yet. God is never finished. He's never like sleeping. But here we go. Okay, so I move into this apartment, okay, and I'm gonna protect this woman's identity, so I'm gonna come up with a random name. Let's just say her name is Tracy. Her name is Tracy Butler. That's a random name that I just came up with, Tracy Butler, okay? So when I first moved in, I'm getting this mail, and the name on the mail is Tracy Butler, okay? I'm like, who the heck is this woman? So I took it to the rental office. I'm like, I just want to give this to you guys because I don't know who this person is. And they're like, well, we don't know who that person is. Like that person never lived here before. I don't know anybody by that name. So I'm like, okay. So not very helpful to me, but I kept getting her mail for an entire year. Okay. April 30th marked the year since I've been in this apartment. Okay. So I kept getting her mail for an entire year. So a week before it was April 30th, I decided, because I had, mind you, I had been going to church consistently since last January. So I decided, okay, I think I'm ready to start serving now. Okay. So I end up going to this event at church, and I was pretty annoyed because I was in church that Friday, that Saturday, then I had to be back that Sunday. So by Saturday, when the event was over, for how to learn how to serve or whatever, I was tired, but I went to this booth, and it was for the worship team. It was to join the worship team because if you don't know, I do music, or I've done music in the past. So this lady standing there, and she shook my hand, and she tells me her name, and I told her my name, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, like I love your name. If I ever had a daughter, like I always wanted to name her Morgan." And I'm just like, okay, like I think my name is very basic, but whatever, So honestly, like I said, everything she was saying was going in one ear and out the other because I was so tired of being in church, and I was just ready to go home at that point. Sorry, God, but I was ready to go. So it wasn't. So finally I go home, and then hours later, I get this email from this lady, and the name is Tracy Butler. Mind you, that's not her real name, but the name is Tracy Butler. So at this point, I'm like, wait a minute. I recognize that name. Like, I recognize that name. So I immediately go to my closet where I got all this lady's mail, and I'm looking through it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's the same name. That is the same name. So this is when I was like, okay, let me try to find this lady. So I then go on Facebook, and I search the lady's name, and the first lady that popped up is the same lady that I shook hands with in church that same day. So at this point, my jaw is on the floor. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely insane. So I reach out to her. I send her a message. I'm like, hey, I have been receiving mail with your name on it for a year now. And I know this is super weird, but we met earlier in church. Like I shook your hand and we had a conversation. Is this you? So she messages back, and she's like, oh my gosh, Morgan, that's wild. Yes, that's me. Jaw on the floor, guys, jaw on the floor. But it gets even crazier. It gets even crazier. So we decide we're going to meet in the lobby the next day. Okay. We meet in the lobby the next day. She comes out, she sees me, and the first thing she says to me is, that was my very first apartment after my divorce. And when I tell you my jaw was on the floor, my jaw was on the floor because this is my first apartment after my divorce. And I don't know, like, we just both looked at each other, and literally, like, I had goosebumps, and the hair was standing up on my skin in that church lobby because I'm like, that's absolutely insane. She said, so much healing happened in that apartment. I said, yeah, so much healing is happening in this apartment. So much crying, so much fasting, so much going to war, so much praying. It's amazing. Like, God is really working on me. And I think God was working on her, and, in this apartment. And I said, that's absolutely insane, because that's just a reminder to me that, like, okay, like, I'm in the right place. Like, everything that happened, but like how I got here was insane, by the way. Like I said, you need to go look at that testimony, but how I got here was insane. But then to be here and get that reminder, like, God saying, yeah, I did that. Like, I did that. I just want to remind you that I did that and I'm still here. Like, what? That's something that only God can do. So I just had to like share that story, because to me, like I said, it's just amazing. And then come to find out, her business, she's a business coach, she's a business mentor, and I've been praying for a mentor. She basically does the same exact thing that I do, but she's like more advanced. And I'm like, that's insane. So I just want to leave y'all with that today, and just share how God works, how God is funny, how God, will remind us that, he's still here if we seek him. And by the way, I can't stop this video without saying my name is Morgan, and I have a feminine care line. It's called Flora. Right now, I have PMDD support. It's a supplement, and I also have boric acid suppositories. You can check out the link in my bio for the website. Have a good day.